June Morning by Frederick Cowles. Laburnum, a mass of golden blossom, shone brilliantly against a background of copper beeches, and the sun touched the delicate pastel green of the larches. A thrush sang in the hawthorn hedge, and the haunting note of a cuckoo sounded from the forest. The old man leaned over the stile. "I knew you'd come today," he whispered. "I've been ill, very ill, but I had to be here to meet you. Do you remember how the laburnum shone on that June morning long ago, when we sat on this stile together, and I kissed you? It's shining just as brightly today, and I'm going to kiss you again." He laughed happily and looked down into her blue eyes. "Your eyes are just as blue," he said. "I was afraid you might have changed, but you're still young and beautiful. Dearest, there's nothing in the way of our happiness now, and we've waited so long for this." He bent down and kissed her upturned face. "Come," he went on. "The gorse is in bloom on the common, and in the woods beyond there are still silver birches." He took her hand and led her up the shady avenue. He watched the wind fanning her dark hair and her bright eyes reflecting the blue of the June sky. In his heart was a great peace, for his feet were set on the road to fairyland. High on the common the gorse was ablaze with fragrant blossom, and the fronds of the bracken stood tall and beautiful. Here and there a patch of late bluebells hid in the shadows, and by the path speedwell and bedstraw made splashes of colour. "Dear God," he cried, "this was worth waiting for, worth all those weary years, and now we shall never be parted." He kissed the little white hand he held, and they followed the path to the woods. Where a tangle of honeysuckle and wild roses ran riot, he stooped and cleared away into the thickness of the forest. Tenderly he led her to a patch of green grass under a hazel bush and, spreading his coat on the ground, invited her to be seated. "This is the place," he said. "It was here we used to spend so many happy hours." She wound her arms about his neck and kissed his lips. Her fingers caressed his cheek, and he felt very close to tears. "So long without you," he murmured. "So long. But it was worth waiting for, worth all the years of misery and unhappiness. Oh, my darling, you are mine at last." The two men, seated before the fire in the club lounge, glanced up as Clayton entered and, with a long sigh, sank into a vacant chair. "You're late today," grunted Passmore. "I know I am, but I've been to poor old Hawley's inquest," Clayton replied. "Hawley? Hawley?" exclaimed Stokes. "Who the devil was he?" "He was once a friend of mine," said Clayton. "In fact, he was a member here, but he hadn't been inside the place for years. I used to know him very well in the old days. It was I who discovered what was between him and the little Lindsay girl." "What was between them?" growled Passmore. "Just a love affair. One of the sweetest love affairs possible. They were terribly fond of each other, but had too many high ideals to make a break for it." "He was married, then?" asked Stokes. "Oh, yes, he was married. His wife was a Guthrie, plenty of money and plenty of pride. I think he married her for the cash, as he'd always liked comfort. And then the Lindsay girl came into his life, and he found that other things could matter more than money and social position. They used to slip away together at weekends and go rambling over Telford Downs. It was there I ran into them one Sunday. They looked ideally happy, but there was a world of sadness in their eyes. I felt sorry for them. That's why I've never spoken of the matter until now." "What happened in the end?" Stokes inquired. "I don't know. Joan Lindsay died nearly 20 years ago, and I lost sight of Hawley. I heard his wife died last month, and someone said he was ill. I had no idea he was so bad. And now he's dead, found dead on Telford Hill." "Telford Hill?" repeated Passmore. "Yes, a gamekeeper found his body in the wood up there. It's queer that he should die in the place he used to visit with Joan. The verdict at the inquest was death from natural causes. 2 young hikers gave evidence. They said they'd seen the old chap wandering across the common, and he appeared to be speaking to a companion, but there was no one with him. The coroner was particularly interested in this remark, asked if they were quite certain the deceased gentleman was alone." Clayton paused a moment, and Passmore impatiently asked, "Well, what was the reply?" "Absolutely certain, sir." he was quite alone.